The Creation, Part 3. The Irish Magian adepts, the greatest cult of men that the world has ever known, certainly the greatest developed during this round of existence, who discovered the spiritual verities and preserved them in allegorical form in the first Bible, could not have been guilty of such a gross error. This cult of men knew nature in all its manifold phases, the heavenly bones and the law of their being. They accurately measured the distance of the sun from the earth as cryptically embodied in one of their great monumental works, the Great Pyramid of Ayesa in Egypt. And they did this at a time when, outside of this cult of priests, universal ignorance of astronomical science prevailed. They set the distance at 91,840,000 miles. It is a conservative estimate that the Irish Magi built the Great Pyramid of Ayesa at least 60,000 years ago. Some estimates have been as high as 150,000 years for the age of that pyramid. In that far-off time, this cult of men had developed the knowledge of philosophy and culture which have been the marvel of all ages since. It is attested by those awe-inspiring ruins at Luxor and other places along the Nile Valley and at Baalbek. It was this knowledge and culture which had its birth in ancient Eire and came down through the ages, cultivated and cherished there as nowhere else on earth, kept alive there even during the Dark Ages on the continent, until Rome suppressed and absorbed the Irish Church by means of English conquest. By contrast, let us, eons, consider the knowledge of the heavenly bodies which prevailed during the Dark Ages and the centuries immediately following, when the opinions of the Roman churchmen were supreme on the continent of Europe. At that time, the opinion was held that the sun was about 10 miles distant from the earth. Some held it to be 20 miles distant. In time, the opinion was ventured that it was from 200 to 300 miles distant. Sometime later, the distance was advanced to 20,000 miles. Thenceforward, with the advancement of modern astronomical knowledge, the distance kept increasing until it reached the figure of 600,000,000 miles. This figure in time, as science became more accurate, was gradually reduced until it reached the estimate which is held at the present day, that the sun is, in round numbers, about 92 million miles distant from the earth. This figure practically confirms the estimate of the great adepts of ancient Eire. So it becomes untenable and unthinkable that those great masters of that ancient wisdom committed such an error as we have presented to us in the creation account given in the first chapter of Genesis, where the Creator Lord's Son is anticipated and his great work cancelled and ignored. No, this error in the account of the 6 days of creation is not of them or by them. It is manifestly a version of the creation given to us by the Roman doctors and accepted by King James Reviser, who sat for 3 years behind closed and barred doors by the king's order, bound under oath not to reveal the matter or subjects which came up for discussion. So the doctors have given us their version of it after due deliberation. The idea of the allegorical story, with its feature of the 6-day period with the deity resting on the 7th, in which the creation was accomplished, rests upon an ancient theological idea which the doctors adhered to. It was held that as above, so below, and as below, so above, but in inverse order. To wit, that as the great universe reflects God, it is the macrocosm, and as man here below is a spark of the divine essence made after God's image and likeness, he is the microcosm or little universe, and contains in himself, but in lesser degree, all the elements of the great universe. In compliance with this idea, doctors endeavoured to formulate an account of the universal creation, but as it happened omitting the Creator, to harmonize an allegorical form with the physical phenomena of the generation and development of the human child in the womb of the mother. In this allegory, humanly speaking, The 6 days are meant for 6 months, and the doctors composed it according to the dogma of inversion that, as it requires 9 months period of gestation to create man, the microcosm or little universe, the period required for the creation of the macrocosm or great universe would be 6 months, as the figure 9 inverted is a 6. But the doctors used the word days instead of months, as the latter word was too suggestive of the key to the riddle or myth of the creation account. So in accordance with this idea, the story is that the universe was created in 6 days and that God rested on the 7th, which harmonizes with the physical fact that though the child is fully formed at 6 months, it is only after 7 months of gestation that, if born, it can live and thrive. Through the full period of gestation is 9 months. This is the basis for the mythical story of the creation. It will be noted all through the Bible that the topic of the generation and birth of the human ego is present. This will be easily understood by the explanation of the allegory of Noah, 9, the 9 months man, and the ark. It has been asserted by some that this 7th day of rest was inserted by the doctors for the benefit of the clergy on economic grounds. Be this as it may, it is a fact that easily lends itself to such a construction. Clerical writers have ever been silent on this feature of the 6 days, and a stricture was put upon them not to reveal it, if any of them should happen to apprehend it. That this has been so, we can well understand from its nature, as already here given, and by the words attributed to the Rabbi Maimonides. He says, "We must not understand or take in a literal sense what is written in the book on the creation, nor from of it the same ideas which are participated by the generality of mankind. Otherwise our ancient sages would have so much recommended to us to hide the real meaning of it, and not to lift the allegorical veil which covers the truth contained therein. When taken in its literal sense, the work gives the most absurd and most extravagant ideas of the deity. Whoever should divine its true meaning ought to take great care in not divulging it. This is a maxim repeated to us by all our sages, principally concerning the understanding of the work of the 6 days." Quoted in Bible Myths by T.W. Doane, page 100. The secret meaning of this feature of the work of the 6 days, as embodied in the myth, I do not feel under any obligation to conceal. I have given it here for the benefit of all. In this enlightened age, men should know the truth and not be compelled to absorb or accept absurd fables or fiction for absolute truth. I hold that truth is not for the clergy alone, but for all who seek it as an aid to spiritual advancement. Such an obviously irrational statement as this account of the creation is, has caused not only the Bible itself to be discredited by many earnest seekers of truth, but it has made infidels without number. That is, an interpolation goes without saying, as the great Irish adepts, who first discovered the spiritual law of the soul and formed the theological doctrine of the Godhead and creation, as a foundation upon which subsequent theologies have been built, could not have made some a mistake. It is upon the foundation laid down by them that our Christian theology rests. Heretofore all statements to this effect have been studiously avoided by those who are well conversant with the truth, as it has been their purpose to conceal the source from which we obtained the Bible, the Saviour, and the Christian religion. No one can believe that those wise adepts were guilty of committing such an error as bringing, as it were, the creation into existence before the Creator himself was created. Their theological postulate was that the deity consisted first of one, the all in all. From this one proceeded two, the Father, Mother, and from those two a third, the Son, who is the creator of the manifested world. They surely could not have given an account of the creation that was at odds with their fundamental theological dogma that the Lord's Son Iesa is the creator, and without him there would have been no creation. The existing version is a manifest forgery by the Roman and British revisers and reflects the unscientific mental attitude which prevailed in the Dark Ages, and is but an unsuccessful attempt of the Roman and British revisers to exemplify the law of inversion, that is, as above so below, and as below so above. Therefore, as the human son or child here below, in the mother's womb, manifests signs of life not before the 4th month, the heavenly son or creator, could not have been or was not created until the 4th day. This clerical pabulation was for the congregation or laity, and when the Bible was made common and given to the people, it served the multitude and held them, as it had no apprehension or understanding of the myth. This idea of postulating the creation of the universe on the basis of a fable or riddle in the myth does not or cannot harmonize with enlightened truth as ascertained in the field of knowledge in this modern age. It was not questioned by the ignorant and mentally inept, but it is but one of the many forgeries, alterations, and additions which the Irish Bible has been subjected to at the hands of the revisers. The sacred mysteries of the Christian religion of Iesa Creost of ancient Eire, the cycle of the initiation, consisted of 7, one in each of 7 incarnations of life in the body. It was considered necessary for the initiate to be inducted into the mystery rites 7 times in order to perfect the building of his solar body. And this is more in harmony with the law of inversion, as above so below, and as below so above. But Rome suppressed the ancient mystery rites, and the revisers have compiled the present version of the Bible text in conformity with that action.